Do you like epic? Because today we are talking about epic. So I like movies, I like epic things, and we're putting this all together, and we're going to talk about watching Top Gun Maverick at a Dolby Atmos theater. And this specifically is at AMC. And man, let me just tell you what, this is absolutely super cool. So you need to set aside some time, about 10 minutes. So if you're a parent, lock the kids in the closet. If you're an astrologer, dismiss the spirits. And if you're schizophrenic, silence all the voices in your head, because you need to focus, because this is awesome. Okay, boys and girls, I'm Giles, and today, like I said, we're talking about Top Gun Maverick at a Dolby Atmos theater at AMC. I'm an AMC stockholder, so please go watch the movie here to support me. But I really want to talk about the experience that I had today and what you can expect when you watch this movie at this kind of theater. Now, we're going to talk about the movie a little bit. I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free, but there will be a little bit, right? I'm not going to ruin anything big for you, but there are a few things that I'm going to talk about that probably are obvious, but just wanted to call that out so you would know that it's coming. And I think a good place to start is to talk a little bit about the Dolby Atmos versus IMAX. So I arrived at the AMC earlier today, went in, and I took a few minutes to go into the IMAX before I went over to the Dolby Atmos theater. Now, the first thing that you'll notice when you go into an IMAX theater, and they're all a little bit different, so your experience might be different than mine, but this is what I saw. The chairs just suck. I mean, I don't know how to say it any polite way. I mean, it's just really bad. These are like the old school stadium style seats, at least, a stadium, but they don't recline. They're super narrow. When I sit down, I'm like squished in between the armrests. I would not want to watch a movie of any length sitting in that kind of chair, knowing what they've got over in the Atmos theater. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Outside of that, the screen was humongous, right? Which is great, but there were no external speakers on the walls going back for the side channels. So, my question is, maybe they were inside the walls behind. I don't think so, though. Maybe they were on the ceiling. It was super dark in there, but I'll put some pictures up so you can see what I saw. It just didn't seem like a very appealing experience to me. And, really, no matter what else is going on, the chairs are full stop. I mean, it just breaks the deal, right? It's a deal breaker. I'm not watching a movie in there. Now, walking across to the other side of the theater, you get to the Dolby Atmos room, and you walk in, and you've got nice, big, comfy recliners. Now, they don't go all the way back, but when you sit down, you hit the button, they kind of sink, tilt, and your feet come out, I don't know, maybe at a 45-degree angle, not all the way, flat, but enough where you can get comfortable. And the headrest is not so far back where it's uncomfortable and your head's too far back. Now, the seat's coming up to about right here, so you're still getting some good surround sound, although I would like to be able to tilt that up just a little bit, but there's no adjustment for that in these seats. So, seats hugely better than what you're going to find over in the IMAX. When you think about the speakers, Dolby invented Atmos, and all these movies are made for Atmos now. So, the 80 million speakers that you have up top are going to be used. But if you look, there are side surrounds just all the way up and down the theater, which is really, really cool. So I would expect that you're going to get a lot better surround type of and height effect than you would in the IMAX theater. Now, the other piece that IMAX is definitely going to be lacking is the butt shaker action, right? So that's the little actuators in the chair that accentuate the bass for you so you can actually feel it. And these were in full effect because, as we'll talk about in a few minutes, the real draw of this movie is sound. And to get the right sound, you really need to be in a Dolby Atmos theater. So I think that kind of sets the tone of the conversation that we're going to have here. Atmos theater, and that's where you want to see it at, and probably push IMAX. Now, if you watched it in IMAX and you disagree, comment down below. Let me know what you think, because man, I'm just not feeling this thing getting any better than what I saw in the Atmos Theater. Now, with that said, let's move on and let's level set a little bit about the movie. I'm not going to do a full review of plot and how was the cinematography, that kind of stuff. This is more of a technical discussion around the experience in the theater, but I do want to level set on the movie a bit. So the movie, just to break it down at the very beginning, was pretty awesome, right? As I said before, epic. And I mean, for me, this was really cool because I saw Top Gun back in the day, and I've been waiting 30 years, watching Tom Cruise get 1 year older every year. Although he doesn't seem to age. I think that whole vampire thing that he did back in the past might have rubbed off, because that dude is like immortal. Especially watching all the Mission Impossible stuff that he does, and that next one coming up is going to be a hot one too. But 30 something years between that movie and this movie, and the level of excitement for this, for someone like me who's moving out of the 40s here pretty soon, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of excitement there. So the movie was good, and they call back to the original tons and tons and tons. So they use the original theme, all the same music, any song that you remember from the first movie except Loving Feeling, you'll hear in this movie as well, which is nice. It gives you that continuity between the two films, and this definitely is a sequel to the first. All the same characters, and it's their lives have progressed, and you kind of find out what happened from between then and now. Even the continuity of the films even came down to very similar scenes. That's an obvious callback from this movie to the original. So when you see the scene, you'll be like, "Oh, they did that one again from the first. Oh, that's so cool." And it's kind of cool. The cast for the movie was really, really good. And I kind of think of the cast as being broken down into two pieces, right? There's the folks from the original movie and then the new cast. And I didn't care so much for the new cast, but, the returnees, you've got Jennifer Connelly, Val Kilmer, and I think this might be his last one. I'm not sure, but I think it might be Tom Cruise, obviously, Ed Harris. You've got Bashir Salahuddin, I think that's how you say his last name. He was there, and then some others, Charles Parnell, Tom Skerritt, and then John Hamm joined in as well as an admiral. So cast really awesome. Not going to comment on the new folks. I think that this movie was intended to be the end, especially for the old characters. But there are plenty of new ones that can carry the torch if you want to. Also playing prominently into the movie were all the jets. And the F-14, I think, was what was featured in the first movie. And it makes a reappearance here. It's pretty cool. Spoiler action right there. But the primary jet was the F-18 Super Hornet. I don't know. I don't have all of the knowledge and excitement that I used to have around the jets, other than I like to watch them and they're super cool. But that is the jet of choice in this movie for the good guys, and the bad guys are using Russian jets, although they never really identify, I guess, the bad guy, but there's a bad guy. And anyway, watch the movie and you can figure out all of that kind of stuff. Now, the last thing I want to level set on about just the movie between this and the old one and whatnot is the level of sweat. If you go back and watch the first movie, everybody was drenched in buckets of sweat every scene all the time. It was ridiculous. And you got some sweat in this movie because, like in the first one, they had the volleyball scene. Well, in this movie, they have yet another scene where they play a sport. It's some kind of weird football going both ways at the same time with two foot. I don't know. But it's again at the beach and everybody's all shirtless and sweaty. I don't know. There's much less sweat than before. Although I think in the credits, they show a picture when they call out Tom Cruise. They show him very sweaty, and it's hilarious because that has to be a callback because, everybody points out all of the sweat. All right. So let's move on from, kind of things about the movie and talk a little bit about the Dolby Atmos experience. And the Dolby Atmos experience is going to be broken into two pieces, and that's the Dolby Vision, which is the visuals, and then the actual sound. And the star of the entire movie, even more important than the plot, really, is the sound. The sound design for this thing was absolutely amazing. Everything from the way they did the music to the way they did the effects of the jets, and you're going to most feel the impact of the sound design during the dogfights and other jet scenes, right, while they're doing stuff. And there are lots of them. A quarter of the movie at least has got to be them in jets flying around doing stuff, whether it's their dogfighting or training or flying or whatever, it's all jets all the time. And the sound for that is pretty amazing. And you got a lot of tactile out of the butt shakers. So, if you translate this into a home theater and you're doing near field subs or butt shakers, I think it's going to be pretty impressive. And this might translate out to demo worthy content. We'll have to see what it's like when it comes out on 4K and Kaleidoscape. And I'll probably buy this one on Kaleidoscape, but it could, right? Some movies I watch, I'm like, yeah, I'd never demo that. I'd never use it. But this one definitely could. It just depends on how it translates out into something that we can get at home. So the sound, absolutely 2 thumbs up, something that you want to hear. And I think you want to experience in the theater too. Now on the Dolby Vision side, this is, I think this theater is using the dual 2K projectors, which if you're not really into it, you won't notice, right? But I think if you're a techie and you kind of understand what's going on, there's really no going back from the level of quality you get out of dual 2Ks. And then in the newer ones, they're dual 4Ks. And sometimes they'll do a 4K and a 2K, I think, on a mix and match just to improve quality. But the projection really is where it's at too. I don't think that the IMAX, unless you're doing like the real IMAX with the film, which they never do anywhere anymore, unless you're going to some theater that's been around for a while. But I don't think IMAX is going to keep up with this either. Now, I don't know the technicalities around the IMAX side, so if you do know, please comment down below and let us know. But the picture was absolutely stunning, and it really always is with Dolby Vision with the dual projectors. So star of everything was the sound. Plot was okay. Loved the nostalgia. Loved the action. And this thing was just action all the time. Action, 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 action. A little bit of plot to season the action, but action, action, action. And I think my last comment is I would really recommend that you go watch this in a movie theater. I know some people say, don't go to a commercial theater. I'm going to watch it at home because it's going to be a better experience. And I want to challenge that a bit. I think people can have a wonderful experience in their home theaters because I do, right? But there's something to be said for the really, really big screen. And people will say, yeah, just get closer and your screen gets bigger. That everyone knows that that's not really how it works, right? When you've got a big screen, right? And when you have a small screen that you're sitting close to. It's different. And I think that the sound is different as well when you're in a huge room and you're still getting all these effects moving around you. It's very impressive, right? I like it in my theater, but a room that's 15 by 18 or whatever, compared to this huge auditorium, there is absolutely a difference. So I would recommend that you see some movies in the theater, and this is going to be one of those movies. All right. So, that's all I've got to say about that. What movie is that from? Please like and subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things. I want to bring this content to you. And when you subscribe, that's great positive reinforcement for me to continue to make this content. And for my subscribers that I have now, and particularly the Patreons, thank you so much. Everyone else, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. And I extend my thanks to you ahead of time. All right, everybody. Thanks again. See you in the next video.